By my count, we've got 37 days left, about 800, 850 hours. It's probably more like 22 days if you count the attention span and people concentrating on the holidays.
You've actually counted up the hours.
Well,
I'm impressed.
It's our business.
I'm impressed.
Where the celebritization of politics is concerned, how do you counter these dueling roadshows of former President Clinton stumping for his candidate, his spouse, and Oprah stumping for Senator Obama?
Well, there's been a challenge to do that throughout the campaign. I mean, there's a lot of glitz associated with a couple of the candidates, and because of that, now I'm pretty well known too, but that glitz has tended to pull the media attention in that direction. And I think my job is to do the hard work in the trenches in Iowa and New Hampshire and make sure that people know what I want to do in Washington to fight for the change we need.
Oprah Winfrey, though, is a formidable celebrity in this country. She can
is.
Sell millions of books with an endorsement.
Yeah, no, we went through it with my wife's book when she went on the show. Yeah, well, I'm very familiar with that. But I think there's a difference between being respected and well thought of and actually moving voters. I think that most, and I'd say that for the celebrities who support me, too. I think most voters, caucus goers in Iowa, voters in New Hampshire, take their responsibility very seriously. And I think they make their own independent judgment.
What's your level of frustration these days, given the fact that you've staked so much in Iowa?
I'm not frustrated at all. I think that if you look at what's happened in a place like Iowa, you know, Senator Clinton, Senator Obama have spent many millions of dollars there on television advertising, spent huge amounts of time there. The race is very competitive between the three of us there. I think it's going to be a real fight. It's going to be a real battle there, and then we'll go from there just a few days later to New Hampshire. And I think when we leave New Hampshire, the American voters will have a much better idea of who's going to be the Democratic nominee.
How important is Iowa to you, and any predictions?
I think it's important to all three of us. I think the reality is, given the amount of money and time that's been invested by the three major candidates in Iowa, it's going to be crucial for any of us. And we know from my experience in 2004 that when Senator Kerry won the Iowa caucus, that launched him to the nomination. So I think it's hugely important to all three of us.
How are you a different guy than when you last ran for vice president under Senator Kerry? Newsweek ran a piece recently that said, in effect, where John Edwards is concerned, no more Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah, I think that there's a mistake to equate strength and passion with some big change in who I am. I'm no different than I've been all along. I think that I'm more seasoned now. I've been through a serious national campaign. I'm tougher now because I've been under the glare of the spotlight and in tough debates so many times now that it's second nature for me. And I think those things make me a stronger and tougher candidate. But I think as a human being, I'm still driven by the same things I've always been driven by, which are to make certain that the kind of people that I grew up with in mill towns in the South get the same kind of chances I've had in my life.
How is your wife's health?
Oh, she's doing very well. We constantly monitor how she's doing. All the test results thus far, and I'm knocking on wood, have been good. And she's been out on the campaign trail. She's actually doing very well, and she doesn't have any symptoms at all, so she feels good.
As an issue, as a dynamic in the campaign, has it been more or less than you expected it would be once you announced the diagnosis?
You mean Elizabeth's health?
Yes.
I think it's been less than I expected, actually. I think that, first of all, we were surprised at the attention it got when we did this back in March. And we've dealt with it the way we've dealt with everything else in our lives, which is openly, making sure that people know what's going on. But Elizabeth's been out on the campaign trail. I have, and I think the American people have accepted it.
Let's talk about foreign affairs for a bit before we come back around to domestic. First of all, your view of what the president is attempting starting today in the Middle East with this summit going on in Annapolis.
I think it's the right thing to do. I think it should have been done a long time ago. I mean, he's had 7 years to engage in a serious way in the Israeli-Palestinian peace process, and I don't think they've done that. I don't think they've sustained the effort. And this is a very complex, difficult issue, as everyone knows. And engagement by America as a constructive player is crucial, and I think it's been missing to a large extent. But I'm happy to see he's doing it now.
Do you think we've been one-sided in any way?
Oh, I think Israel is our ally. We're very close with Israel. Everyone knows that. But I know myself from the time that I've spent in Israel that there are good people in the Palestinian Authority who are also looking for peace. who are interested in seeing a two-state solution with two states living side by side with peace and security. So I think there is an opportunity there. It's a difficult, difficult path, and the nuances matter. But I think there is an opportunity.
If you had to pick one, what one foreign country currently keeps John Edwards up at night?
Pakistan.
Why?
Because they have a nuclear weapon. Musharraf is extraordinarily unstable politically in his own country. They have a serious, radically violent element within the country. They are, a huge part of the population is virulently anti-American. So I think that combination of circumstances are explosive. And we also know that al-Qaeda is operating essentially without any effort by the Pakistani government in northwest Pakistan. So I think it's a very dangerous, volatile situation.
What do you do about it that's not being done?
I think we alter the way we provide aid. We provided about $10 billion in aid, but a lot of it has gone to prop up Musharraf as opposed to enforcing the democratic reform that we need to see in Pakistan. I think we've also failed to do it in a multilateral way, which has been a hallmark of this administration. We've tried to do too much alone. And I think the intense diplomacy that was needed has been largely missing. And it's also sad to see the lack of expertise and knowledge within our own State Department about Pakistan. We don't have the kind of Pakistani expertise that we need within our own government.
Back to domestic politics. If you should fail to secure the Democratic nomination, which is a worse option for you to face, Senator Clinton or Senator Obama?
I'm not sure what that means.
In terms of throwing your support, in terms of being a fellow Democrat, if John Edwards should fail to gain the nomination, is any of those two options worse to you?
Oh, no, I don't. First of all, I don't accept that proposition. Understanding with your calculation of days and hours, I've been engaged in this for a long time, and I am very intensely focused on making sure we, including me, bring the change that we need to this country and to Washington, that we actually make the government work for ordinary Americans and get it out of the hands of the few who are operating against the interest of most Americans. But, you know, when this is over, I'll support the Democratic nominee.
Senator Clinton yesterday told an interviewer she was certain she would be the nominee, absolutely certain of her own success. What do you have to blunt that assertion by the senator?
If she's certain, she's living in a fantasy world. I've been through this before in 2004. Governor Dean looked like he had an absolute lock on the nomination, and he didn't win a single primary or a single caucus. At this same stage, he looked like a lock in 2003. I would say don't count your chickens before they hatch. We got a real campaign in front of us. We got a real battle in front of us. I've been in these fights before. I've fought as the underdog before, and I know what can happen. And I have enormous confidence in my ability to bring Iowa voters, New Hampshire voters, to the cause that we need to change this country and change Washington.
You've raised doubts about her electability. Do you still believe that?
Oh, I think there are questions about her electability. I think there are questions about all of our electability. I mean, I think that I have the strongest case to make because, number one, I can go anywhere in America and campaign and compete. I'm the one candidate who's actually won in a red state. That's how I got elected to the United States Senate against the Jesse Helms political machine. And I grew up in a small town in the rural South, which means I understand and can connect with voters in that part of the country who are crucial for Democrats being successful.
Is there anything to blame in American society, perhaps our media culture, that your campaign against poverty hasn't caught on more than it has?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is not the natural focus of the media, and attention spans are short. You know, there was some attention to the issue of poverty and the two Americas when the hurricane hit New Orleans and those pictures came out of the Ninth Ward. That was a good thing. That attention was a good thing. But I think attention has waned. People have moved on to other things. And that's why it's so crucial that we have a President of the United States who speaks about the poor, the uninsured, the hungry. Well, I saw a report saying 35 million Americans went hungry last year, because the President has the bully pulpit to drive those issues. And if the President really cares about those things, and I care deeply to my soul about them, then we can do something